But it's so nice to see each of you here tonight for the work session of the School District of Oconee County Board of Trustees. We would like to begin tonight with a moment of silence, and if you would like to participate, I ask you to do that at this time. Amen. And if you would join me now and stand, and we'll have the pledge to the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and next we have a very special group of people with us from West Oak High School. And Brandon, I understand that you are going to introduce them for us tonight. Okay. Brandon Blackwell is the principal at West Oak High, and we're certainly glad to have him with us here tonight also.
We appreciate you guys letting us come today. We have Ryan Dobbs and AJ Dickerson with us, but we also have Coach Greg Brewer alongside them. Ryan is a senior that is a three-time state champion, and he is going to be going to continue his wrestling career at the Citadel. And we have AJ Dickerson, who is a rising senior, and he's also a three-time state champion. Coach Brewer, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I don't like to talk about
it. Come on.
All right. It's just for the rest of the audience, we like to try to put a spotlight on students when they do win kind of state level type awards, and to win that 3 times is truly remarkable. I mean, these two guys represent the best of the best with wrestling, and we want to give Coach Brewer a chance to brag on them a little bit and just recognize them. Guys, if y'all mind coming up front too, Mr. Andy's going to tweet out a picture here in just a minute. And right before Coach Brewer gets started, I will say to you guys, I'm a little bit disappointed that Mr. Herring's still under the weather and couldn't be here tonight, because I was going to ask Mr. Herring to come up front and let y'all demonstrate some wrestling. But he couldn't be here tonight, so we'll have to do that next time.
You guys want to drop the match? So I'll talk about AJ first, since he's the youngest. He's a tremendous wrestler, and really, I'll say a lot of the same things about both these guys. They're workout partners. They have certainly everything that they've gotten, they've earned through a whole lot of hard work. AJ and Ryan both are tremendous workers, and they work hard all throughout the off season, all throughout the season. They push each other. They are really good friends, and they're the type of people that you want to build a program around. So AJ just completed his 100th win this season. He has over 100 wins, but that's a phenomenal accomplishment going into your senior year. So that's something that's very special. AJ, obviously, the 3-time state champion. He has over 100 wins in 3 years. So that's, and including this year, which was a COVID-shortened year. We only had, I think he had 30 matches this year or so, which is about half of what we normally have. So it's a tremendous accomplishment for AJ to be where he is, and he's still got a bright future ahead of him. So Ryan is cut from that same mold. He is a tremendous worker. Everything that he's attained has all been through hard work and his own sacrifice and dedication to the sport. He was the South Carolina 3A Wrestler of the Year, voted by the South Carolina Wrestling Coaches Association. That's the 4th one, I think, that we've had at West Oak over the last 7 years. So that's pretty special for our program. And he's just continuing along the great line of great wrestlers that we've had. Like Dr. Blackwell said, he will go to the Citadel this upcoming year. It's the 2nd Division I wrestler that we've had in as many years, and it's certainly special. He will be a great cadet, be a great student, and be a great athlete for the Citadel. So we're excited about both of your opportunities, and we appreciate you guys having us here.
And while we're recognizing those guys, I would like to recognize Coach Brewer as well. He stepped down this year after a great career at West Oak High School. He's still going to teach with us, but after 21 years of coaching,
21 years.
21 years of coaching, he has decided to step down, and we were fortunate enough to get another great wrestling coach to come in and continue what Coach Brewer has been doing alongside these guys. So we're still going to have Coach Brewer as part of our staff, and he's still going to be around, but he won't be the one calling the shots on that. Thank you.
Before we end, I'm a member of the Westminster Rotary Club, and quite often, every year, Greg comes and speaks to our club and brings some of his wrestlers, and he has just done an incredible job working with these two young men, but with just so many, and he just does so much to build character as much as their ability to wrestle. So he will be missed as the coach, but I know we have a good replacement. But he's just done a tremendous amount at West Oak High School. We really appreciate that.
Well,
and we appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We couldn't do what we do without you guys providing for us. So we're certainly appreciative of all the things that you guys have done at an administrative level. We couldn't do what we do without the great support from you guys. So we're certainly appreciative of that, and hopefully we'll continue to turn out really good kids and really good wrestlers.
I'm sure we will.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, we will go on with the approval of tonight's agenda. Y'all received that earlier. Well, you received it last week. So did you see any changes or anything need to be added to our May 10th work session meeting agenda? All right, then without any objection, we will approve the May 10th, 2021 work session meeting agenda. And now it is time for public comments. So do we have anyone tonight?
Yes, ma'am. Alexis Shepherd.
All right.
Good evening. To the board of the School District of Oconee County, my name is Kimberly Alexis Shepherd. I have taught for nearly a decade, and I've spent half that time as an SDOC employee, first at Northside Elementary and now at Seneca Middle School as a 6th grade ELA teacher. When I started teaching in 2012, I knew that I wanted to make an impact for students both academically and socially. I knew that living and working in upstate South Carolina would likely mean that I would be in mostly white spaces. I also knew that I would be one of few, if any, black educators in a school, and that my influence would be recognized even if I did not want it to be. The rich hue of my skin does not allow me the privilege of going unnoticed. Rather than being daunted, though, I have used my conspicuousness to empower other students of color and to teach perspective and empathy to white students. As an employee of SDOC, I was deeply disappointed and saddened when our school district did not publish even a generic statement about its commitment to inclusive, equitable, or anti-bias education after the string of highly publicized injustices of last summer. Rather, they remained silent and in doing so neglected to stand for its staff and students. I am a product of SDOC who returned to the community that helped make me. This place is home, and it hurts to come home to a place where my concerns and my trauma are met with silence and a blind eye. Privilege affords the luxury of silence. As a member of this community and an advocate for equity, I look for ways to use my voice to move the needle of inclusivity forward. This includes using social media to challenge perspectives. I serve as a mentor for emerging women at Seneca High School, a group of young ladies committed to creating systemic change through providing anti-bias conversations. I also work as a subject matter expert for the Church and Society Committee at St. Mark United Methodist Church, and I'm helping them launch a website where young people can receive anti-bias and anti-racist education and resources. The School District of Oconee County has an opportunity to stand with and for its employees who move through the world feeling unseen, unheard, and unvalued. Instead, though, it seems that our district chooses a color blindfold and settles for status quo. I live in a world where my race is inextricably linked to every aspect of my life, from my family's capacity to create generational prosperity to the fear that courses through me every time my husband goes for a jog. There are constant reminders that my plight and the plight of Black Indigenous people in this country is one of creating inclusivity in spaces that would rather ignore or placate us. The colorblind paradigm is unhelpful. My identity as a Black woman influences the way I view and interact with the world around me, and it consciously and unconsciously influences others' perceptions of my intelligence, my beauty, and my capability. As a teacher, it places me in a unique position to impact students when I discuss empathy and compassion. In the spirit of inclusivity and as someone who values perspective, it is imperative that I use this forum to provide a viewpoint that seems conspicuously absent from the district's mission and strategic plans. Myself nor any of my Black students or colleagues are reflected in the district's strategic plan or mission. In over 160 pages, the word diversity never appears. The words inclusion, ethnic, and minority are only mentioned with regards to demographic data and students needing special services. Moreover, inclusivity, social justice, diversity, nor equity were mentioned as part of the 15 values with which the SDOC has chosen to align itself. Black students comprise the largest group of minority students in Oconee County, more than all the other ethnic groups combined, yet nothing in our curriculum or values works to create equity for our most disadvantaged populations. We expect these students to be high achievers when they are disproportionately impacted by opportunity gaps, food insecurities, and economic instability. Our Black students receive exclusionary discipline at alarming rates, and there's no ongoing education for teachers to become more culturally responsive in their approach to students. It is vital that our school district represents the students, families, and citizens of this community by actively working to deconstruct racial biases in our students' education. A chapter about the history of slavery in a social studies textbook or a conversation after CNN 10 does a grave disservice to students who desperately need to see themselves represented in the staff, policies, and values of the entity that purports to serve them. I am committed to anti-racist, anti-bias work. It permeates everything that I do. And it's important for me to dwell in spaces that will see and value me as the Black woman that I am. For me and other Black Indigenous people of color, this looks like choosing equity over equality. My aim is to prompt you and everyone hearing this message to consider the underrepresented members of the staff who deserve to feel seen and valued even in small ways. It's the seemingly small things that can have the most impact. They can be the difference between feeling like a valued member of a community and a cog in a machine. I challenge you, SDOC, to consider as part of your strategic plan a commitment to the work of racial equity, anti-bias education, and social justice. Provide ongoing mandatory trainings for staff to learn about unconscious biases and discrimination. Facilitate inter-school book clubs that include district officials where people can have conversations around race and their experiences. Invest in curriculum that specifically supports our Black students. People in this community, including people of color, look to this district to provide a foundation for the children who will one day run the world. It is up to you and up to us to model and promote the values that we hope to see more of in our society. If we hope to change the world, it must begin by challenging the way we stand with and for our most marginalized and oppressed communities, from our staff to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your concerns with us. We appreciate you being
Is she
here.
going to answer any questions on this, or is this just for?
This is public hearing.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry. All right. Is there any other?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So that was the only one for public comment. All right. So at this point, we'll continue with our meeting. And our first item of business is the food service update from April Howes, the Dexter, please.
Is it okay if I just to make sure everybody in the audience
Sure.
understands, come on, Ms. Alice, fine. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood why Sodexo is here. So school districts have a choice of doing self-operating schools food service, which most school districts do. They just hire their own staff, prepare their meals. We choose in Oconee County several years ago, I guess 11 years ago, we made the decision to essentially subcontract our food service to a company. And we went through a process to secure a company. Sodexo won that bid, and they've been in our district for 11 years now. And Ms. Howe is just here to give the school board kind of an update on what's going on within the food service world in the school district. So, thank you, Ms. Howe.
Thank you.
Gloria, do you have anything else?
Gloria's like, I'm going to introduce you, and then Dr. Clarkson does that. So, I'm very excited to be here with you guys tonight. It's been long overdue that I get to give you guys an update, so I'm pleased to be here. We're going to talk a little bit about how COVID impacted food service in general, then moving on to how the pandemic affected daily participation last year. We had an awesome summer last year, so I want to highlight all of that. Give an update on what's going on this year, and then moving forward what this summer looks like and into the following school year. So, March 16th, 2020, the day I'll never forget. For one, it's my birthday. So happy birthday to me that year, right? The day that ultimately things changed in a way that we would never expect. In food service, we prepare for things like tornadoes. We prepare for things like power outages. What we've never prepared for before is a worldwide pandemic. So we were faced pretty quickly with making decisions that would affect hundreds, if not thousands. So I stood before my 17 cafeteria managers on March 16th in a meeting room, and I read this quote: "We're going to practice patience, not perfection, and we're not going to let perfection be the enemy of progress." I'm a perfectionist to the core, but I knew that decisions had to be made quickly in order to feed students that were no longer in our schools anymore. So I challenged each of my managers and each of my employees to bear with me as we evolved and grew. But March 16th marked the day that we strove for perfection, but along the way we stumbled and we learned. And so let's talk a little bit more about that. These pictures just give a brief overview of the work that was put in over the last year or so. For the first time, you saw food service workers sitting at the same table with bus drivers, school administrators, daycare staff, community members. This was an opportunity for collaboration like we'd never seen before. We were no longer just lunch ladies and gentlemen. We were part of a larger picture, part of a community. And we weren't just seeing kids in school cafeterias anymore. We were seeing them in their homes. We were seeing where they lived. We were seeing how they lived. So forever we have a better bond or a better attachment to the children that we're serving. It's no longer just a smiling face in a cafeteria line. It was becoming more and more evident that food security is largely dependent upon school food service. So we began to learn more about our community and where the higher needs were and what role we actually played. So I love these pictures. We have Zoe Rothel is helping her mom deliver meals at Radnell, and police officers are helping. You'll see the volume of food that we have at Walhalla Middle School there. So just to touch on a few things. We faced a lot of uncertainties, as we talked about. Food accessibility was one. So students were sent home. Grocery stores were low on food. Mom and dad might be unemployed. So now we know that there are pockets of high-need individuals that aren't coming to school to get food anymore, but they still need it. So how are they going to get it? So food accessibility was uncertain. Transportation. So now we've identified students that need food, but how are we going to get it to them? We're going to run school buses. We're going to run cop cars. We're going to run personal vehicles. How are we going to get it there? Staffing was and still is an issue. The CDC released that anyone over 65 years of age was at increased risk. We were dealing with a virus on March 16th that we knew nothing about. So fear was huge. I don't know if you've met a lot of our lunch ladies, but there's a huge population that's over 65, right? So there's a population of your staff that's afraid. And on top of that, students have gone home. Lunch ladies and gentlemen are parents for the most part. So now their kids are home. So are they willing to work for me or be at home with their students? So staffing was an issue. We overcame a lot, and we have some very dedicated individuals. I wish they were here and that you could meet them all because they are wonderful. Food and paper shortages. On one day, the entire state shut down. And on one day, we all had the same dilemma. We had to get food to people in the community. They were no longer coming to us. So we couldn't use trays that you could wash. We needed paper. We needed styrofoam. We needed plastic. So immediately we started buying as much as we can. Dr. Thorson and Gloria are going to Sam's to buy bags so we can distribute food in the community. We're running out of cups, we're running out of lids, and how else are you going to get canned peaches to a kid in a home if it doesn't come in a cup, right? So paper shortages are one thing. Food was another. I know farmers are literally plowing their crops back into the ground because the food transportation system was broken in this nation. Borden Milk Company went bankrupt during this time because they could not transport their milk. The beef industry was largely hit. So food, week over week, grocery stores are running out. How long was our food supply going to last? We didn't know that. And we didn't know how big this was or how long it was going to last. So food and paper shortages were huge. We also had a due diligence to control the spread. We touched hundreds of individuals every time we delivered a meal, right? We went from this house to this house to this family to that person. So if one of us was infected or had been infected unknowingly, we could potentially spread this thing from family to family. So we had a huge diligence to say we're going to be safe and we're going to know and we're not going to do that. So a lot of uncertainties. I liked this picture because it reminded me of how many of these I watched. But this one particularly said, South Carolina governor orders closure of schools through the end of the month. Boy, that changed, huh? It wasn't just a couple weeks, it was a couple months, actually. But I used this as a segue to sort of talk about how the pandemic affected the end of last school year 1920. In the blue, you'll see March 16th through the end of May of 2019. This was a normal operating school year. We serve about 276,000 lunches and about 155,000 breakfast meals. That's a normal school year from mid-March to end of May. You'll notice in the yellow, the pandemic took quite the toll on participation. We had 94,000 lunch meals and 91,000 breakfast meals, and you'll see in the gray the difference in percentages there. Why do I think this was happening? 10,000 kids plus were no longer walking through school cafeterias. They were in their homes. We were evolving and learning, and Dr. Thorson and Mr. Hamby and Gloria can all tell you that our process evolved over time. There was at one point where we were going out on buses at breakfast and lunch every single day, and then that turned into, let's do it every other day, and we'll get 4 meals at once, and then it turned into weekly delivery, so it was constantly evolving. So in the beginning, we weren't perfect. We obviously had a gap, right? But we knew that. So then summer came. And that's where the fun begins. I had to run the percentages twice because I thought I had done my math wrong. The summer of 2020, we utilized the USDA waivers to allow for bulk meal delivery. So what that means is a family per child can receive food for an entire week at a time. So no longer, you don't have to get breakfast now and lunch at lunch and breakfast tomorrow at breakfast. Now I can get a week's worth of food at one time. So let's utilize this. So instead of seeing lettuce that was chopped up into little salads, a family would get a head of lettuce. Instead of seeing 10 little milk cartons, you get a half gallon of milk. And that's for each kid in the home. So if you have 3 kids, now you've got 3 half gallons of milk and 3 heads of lettuce and a whole bunch of fruit. And so we would give menus to sort of guide their meal planning, or mom could decide, we're about to have the best salad that's going to feed my 5 family members tonight, right? So it was a way for families to better utilize the food, and we could distribute more quickly. So to talk about the numbers, we did this together. We as a team made history, and when I say that, it was food service workers, it was school administrators, it was bus drivers, it was cops, it was kids, it was everybody. In June and July of 2019, so a normal summer, we served a little less than 18,000 lunches and about 8,300 breakfasts. Last summer, we served over 91,000 lunches and 91,000 breakfasts. And those percentages, so 5 times more breakfast and 11 times more lunches. So I thought that was staggering. And to top it all off, we did it out of 2 kitchens with less than 15 food service employees. So that too is staggering. So I'm very proud of my team for those efforts, and I will forever brag on the summer of 2020. School year 2021 does look a little different. The food is still beautiful and it's still yummy, but it comes in a different package. So now we're seeing elementary schools are in styrofoam boxes, right? Middle and high schools, everything is pre-cupped and pre-portioned. So it's decreasing the amount of times that you would touch the scoop in the serving line, or how many people you would stand near and how long you would stand near them. So every child this school year is eating for free based on USDA waivers. But we'll talk about this in a few minutes. The free meals hasn't impacted participation in the way that you think it might. So we'll touch on that soon. Elementary students, for the most part, are receiving both breakfast and lunch in their classrooms. Middle and high school are running a more traditional service, but whereas you would have 3 lunch services before, now you might have 6. So there's shorter times, quicker lines, less socializing, that sort of thing. So how has that affected participation this year? In the blue, you'll see last school year, and in the orange, you'll see this school year broken into elementary, middle, and high school. You'll notice that lunch participation has decreased in all grade levels. Let me explain why I think that is. In elementary schools, in a normal school year, we offer 4 entree options. They're coming through the line. You can see all this beautiful food, select. Now we're down to 2 entree options because food is being prepared, boxed, and sent to a classroom. So whether that be school staff is helping deliver, or students, or whoever, somehow it's getting to a classroom. So we've cut down to 2 entree options in elementary schools. So I think the choice alone, it decreases, right? If I go to a buffet, I'm going to eat more than if I go to the restaurant with 2 options. In middle and high schools, it's not as social as it used to be. It's faster, right? And the food, as we saw before, is pre-cupped and plated and portioned. It's just not as pretty as it once was. So I do think that decreased options paired with presentation and less socialization leads to a decrease in lunch counts. But let's look at breakfast. I was very pleased by this. Breakfast participation this year over last is increased in both elementary and middle, and a slight decrease in high school, and I think I know why. There's a large push for breakfast to be consumed in schools. A full belly means I'm starting my day off right, I'm ready to learn. So as soon as we found out that meals are going to be free, I gathered my managers together and I'm like, let's push the breakfast, whatever it has to look like, let's do it. So elementary breakfast is served in the classroom. So now you've arrived at school, maybe you already ate at home, but my friends are eating, so I'm going to have breakfast too, right? And breakfast in elementary schools is fun. It's like little cinnamon twirls and their favorite cereals and things like that. So it's easy and it's fun, and my friends are eating, so maybe I'll take it anyways, even if I already ate at home, kind of thing. So breakfast participation has increased in elementary schools. Middle schools, Seneca Middle, someone equated their breakfast line to a Golden Corral buffet. I told her to offer the world, and she did it. So she has figured out a way to entice her students with more breakfast offerings. They like grits, they like biscuits, whatever it is, they've done it. High school, I think the decrease there comes from later start times, gives kids more time to stop somewhere else on the way to school. These are the students who are driving. They're the ones that have money. They're the ones that have choice to go buy McDonald's or wherever else. Or maybe they slept in late and said heck with it, right? So I do think that's why we see a decrease in high schools at breakfast. But I'm very pleased for elementary and middle. So BIC is what we call breakfast in the classroom. BIC is a win in elementary schools. The largest percentage increase in breakfast participation was seen in elementary schools And these three in particular, Fair Oak Elementary had about a 27% increase, Kiwi in participation, Kiwi the same, and James Brown actually had an increase. And I'll explain something about James Brown. James Brown has always been a BIC eligible school based on income eligibility. So why, if they've always been BIC and now they're BIC, why are we seeing the increase now? In the previous school year, a decision was made to try and run James Brown breakfast through the cafeteria serving line. With that, we saw a decrease in participation. Now, under COVID, we're back in the classroom. Back in the classroom, we've seen a 24% increase. So I think this speaks volumes to, if we can encourage breakfast in the classroom, particularly in elementary schools, you will see an increase in participation. And I think James Brown tells the story itself. So I found that interesting. Despite all the changes, we are still having fun this year. So this is a fine dining event that we hosted at James Brown for Ms. Chavalier's pre-K class. They learned about charcuterie boards and a chef-inspired meal and clinking glasses and all the things. So we are still having fun despite paper products and prepackaged items. So what is to come? The USDA has extended waivers that allow for free meals throughout the summer and all of next year. So we're very pleased by that. Students will be eating free for another school year, which is tremendous. We learned a lot last summer, and we continue to learn. So we're going to apply all of that knowledge to this summer as well. So we have normal camps like band camp, reading camp, whatever. So students who are face-to-face doing those things are going to receive breakfast and lunch through those programs. But in addition to that, we're also doing a bulk meal delivery this summer into our high-need community areas. So we've identified those with the help of bus drivers to sort of say, where are we going this year? So we're very pleased and excited for this summer to see if we can top those numbers. That's going to be a hefty feat. We do hope that next year in 2021 that we see kids in cafeterias eating with their friends again. I think that's what we like, right? Cafeterias are beautiful. The food is beautiful. They love their friends. They love that time out of the classroom or out of the stress of whatever it is. So that is what we're hopeful for in this coming school year. I do want to say a sincere thank you, even on behalf of just myself, for the extension of the contract this year. That means a lot. We've been through a lot, and it means a lot to have one more year of opportunity to show you what I can perhaps do without pandemic whirlwind craziness. It's still going to be crazy. It always is in food service, but we're looking forward to that. So a sincere thank you, certainly on behalf of myself and Sodexo. So do you have any questions, or I'm always open for any discussion. I know everyone doesn't love food service, but I love food service, so I'll talk to you about it all the time. So.
We just appreciate the work you and your staff have done, because I'm sure, as you sit here and you listen to it, we all dealt with it just on a small level. So I can imagine what it was like planning for the entire district. I do have one question. When you were talking about the decline in breakfast for high schools, what time period is the line open for them to eat at school?
So it kind of varies school to school, but we have some schools who, like, the doors don't open until 8:30, but they're going straight to class at 8:30. Mm-hmm. So it's somewhere between 8:15 and 8:30. It's a really, really tight window. Mm-hmm. So we've tried to do things like set up a cart near the entranceway, right? Okay. So when you walk in, you're going to grab it. Well, then we're like, well, we're only selling 7 meals here, so what else can we do? So we offer Golden Corral buffet. Well, then there's not enough time. So it's just, it is a little challenging there. So.
Well, that's just terrific. That's a terrific report. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for all that you have done as well. Last summer I drove around to several of the locations during the summer. I went out to one of the rural areas and to one of the neighborhoods and one of the apartment complexes, and it was just a really great experience. There's a lot of energy, and I just appreciate all that the staff did.
Thank you. Yeah. I remember we pulled up into an apartment complex, and it was pouring rain. Of course, it's pouring rain on delivery day. And kids are coming out. I remember pouring in like a fur coat. Like, that was the only coat she had. No shoes. And you're just like, here, take more. Just take more, whatever you need. So it just shows you that I would never know that of her in a school, right? I would never see that of her. So it deepens your level of commitment to the children that you're serving. So, and I think everyone who worked for us last summer, whether it be a school administrator or a bus driver or a police officer, I think they felt that same sentiment. So.
Sure.
April, I do want to say thank you for your leadership as well. You understand things from such a global agriculture perspective that a lot of people don't. So thank you for that.
I remember when you and I sat down before all of your board duties, she asked me if you could have one thing, what would it be? And I'm like, every kid eats for free. I didn't know she was going to grant my wish. So, here we are.
That is great. And that's really good news for next year.
For sure, absolutely.
It really is.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Again, thank you so much.
And April is a school district of Oconee County graduate too, so we're certainly proud to have a local person running our food service.
That is great.
I've got just a couple of things for you tonight. Just a few minutes before the meeting, Deb Andrews, who is in charge of the Oconee County Salvation Army, stopped by and gave us this frame picture here that just says, "Thank you for caring for others." Many of our schools, and as well as the district office, took a very active role in ringing the bell at the kettles over Christmas, and this is just a thank you. So after the open session of our meeting, I'm going to get y'all four to stand out front with me and get a picture. She would like to have a picture of us with this sign. I sent you an email just a few minutes before the meeting, just with 3 events coming up that we'd love for you to join us at these events if you can. So on May 25th, we have our district high honor ceremony for our seniors who are graduating with high honors. We're going to go back to doing that. Of course, we skipped it last year. It'll be at West Oak High School. We're going to do it outside to be a little more COVID-friendly at the stadium. And we've got a local television news personality who's going to come address the students for a few minutes. And we're doing it at 7:30 to accommodate that local news personality schedule. So that's one. And then we have, of course, graduation on the 29th, Friday the 29th. And we'll do Saturday the 29th. All of those will be simultaneous, so you'll split up and go to the high schools in your areas, and your school should be getting in touch with you about details with that. Mr. Handy's got graduation gowns for you to wear that morning and that kind of thing. And then finally, June 1st, we're going to start our retirement dinner back after taking a year off, but we'll honor retirees from 2020 as well as 2021. And we're going to do that in the lobby at Walhalla High School to give us a little more space to spread out, again, be COVID friendly. And we'd love to have you join us at those, but you've got an email with those dates and times if you didn't get to write them down right now. I'd also like to just take this opportunity to report to you, but to thank the community as well. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and we had so many different churches, school improvement councils, businesses that just pitched in to say thank you to our teachers and our staff, and we do appreciate the support we feel in our community for our schools, and that was evident last week. So many meals were prepared and different things for our staff, so we're appreciative of that. And lastly, we are in the midst of testing now. So the State Department of Education did ask the federal government for a waiver from our testing requirements. That was not granted, so we are giving those right now. It's early May, and that is standardized testing in our schools. So we've got elementary and middle schools taking part actively in that now. Our high schools, they're doing some AP testing now, but they'll get their end-of-course testing, and some of those a little bit in a couple of weeks. But our schools are busy. We're having the challenge this year of those few students who are still virtual. They're having to come to the buildings to get their tests, so that's keeping our schools, teachers, and principals busy right now. But it's still a good time. I'm still thrilled that we're here. We can say that we've had a successful school year, albeit a trying and somewhat stressful school year. It's been a positive school year, and we've been able to serve our students, which is what we're supposed to do. So that's all I have, unless anyone has questions.
No, I don't think so. I just want to also say how much I know our communities did for our teachers last week. I just heard from so many different ones and so many events that were going on at the school. So it was really, it was a wonderful experience, I know, for them. And for all those that gave and helped. All right. Gloria Moore, our April financial report.
I don't have anything that I need to highlight. I think it's pretty much a normal run-of-the-mill report, but I'm happy to answer questions if you guys have.
Does anybody have anything? No. Our budget remaining that we'll get here.
Yes. If you don't mind, I was just going to give a few, just the highlights of what we've already talked about, and then we can have public comment if there's anything.
Okay. All right, that'll be great.
Okay, so we did approve a budget with expenditures of $106,705,304. That includes the Senate Finance recommended teacher salary increase of $1,000 plus our 15% local supplement. We added $1,150 to our professional salary schedules, which is equivalent or about equivalent to the teacher increase. We've added a 2% increase to our non-exempt salary schedules. The Senate Finance Committee did recommend for state employees to get a 2% raise also, so that's very similar to what state employees may get. There's an expected 2.6% increase in the cost of health insurance for employers, a 1% increase for our retirement matching. Those are the things that added to our budget, and then we've got a few things that we were able to use to decrease the budget. We reallocated some positions due to the change in enrollment in different schools, so we decreased by 11 FTEs. We have some savings due to the federal funds, the pandemic, federal funds that we got as a result of the pandemic. We have moved 24 teachers. These are interventionists that we will pay from CARES funding. That's $1.7 million. We paid for instructional technology, multi-year subscriptions, so we'll have a few of those that we will not have to renew in this coming up year. That's $268,000. This is a balanced budget. It requires about $182,000 of additional local revenue that we are hopeful will be covered by the growth of the mill value, and that we would not have to have a tax increase. We did go to County Council on Tuesday last week and made our presentation to them. They were very complimentary of the board and Dr. Thorson for our opening schools face-to-face 5 days a week and how that contributed to our economic recovery in Oconee County. And it was a very positive meeting. We were very thankful for their comments.
And at this time, we will open the floor to anyone who has a question about the budget, who wants to make any comments about the budget. Anyone at all? Well, I did hear on the news after the presentation that it was a very positive presentation, so we certainly appreciate it. And I too think that so much of the simple fact that we opened and we were open all year, I think that has impressed so many people. And I appreciated all the kind remarks that the county council made after that presentation. All right, so there's no one that wants to speak, so that is the end of our open meeting tonight. I thank each of you for being here at this time With no objection, we'll go into executive session. Okay. All right, so we are in executive session. Thank you again for being here.